Hey, today I'm talking about 3 older Joan of Arc films, and the names of those 3 movies are The Trial of Joan of Arc, Saint Joan, and Joan of Arc, 1948. First up is The Trial of Joan of Arc. This is a 1962 French film, and boy oh boy is there a lot that I like about this. As you can tell though by the title, it focuses just on the totally legitimate trial that Joan went under leading up to the end of her life. They approached this with a very minimalist intent, and that really truly elevated the story, because we're really just kind of stuck in this cell and in this courtroom with Joan as she's being berated with all of these questions, and like her, we just have to sit there and take it. Or like how we just are sitting in silence, and occasionally we hear like a distant sound from the outside world to remind us of regular life. And like Joan, it gives us this bolt of joy. Oh yeah, that's right, life used to be a thing that we experienced, not just this hell that we're currently in. Not to say that watching the movie is hell. I really love the use of language. This is in French. All of the French characters speak French, and crazy enough, all of the English characters speak English. That just added such a nice level of realism. Plus, it's always just nice to hear French. They were really good with subtle storytelling. In particular, I love the stuff they did with the guy who was trying to help her. There was just like lots of like side glances and stuff that really worked well. The lead gave such a phenomenal performance. She really made this film and just delivered on the full range of emotions that you want. Like, she is the gold standard for what you want a good Joan of Arc performance to be. 10 out of 10 performance, without a doubt. I really love that they didn't really over-explain stuff. I like how they didn't handhold you through kind of the craziness of her story. So honestly, if this was going to be your first Joan of Arc experience, I think you're in for like a trip. You knew nothing about her. And honestly, that's a good way to go into it, just because her story is kind of crazy. And to just kind of be brought into it like this would be, I don't know, it would be fun. It would be really fun. I, without a doubt, recommend this movie. It is a really incredibly well-crafted movie, phenomenal performances, beautifully shot, just top to bottom, they really crushed it. Again, it's a minimalist film, so like there's not a lot of action, there's not a lot of camera movement. It's all about the dialogue, and it works so well. But I can understand if you're not that into like super dialogue heavy movies, then I would only kind of cautious recommend, but you should honestly give us a chance though, because it's so good. Next up is Saint Joan. This is a 1957 film starring Jean Seberg, and this one tells the whole life story of Joan. This one was interesting because it really didn't feel like Joan was the main character. I think part of that has to do with the fact that Jean was so young and they didn't want the entire movie to really lie on her shoulders, but I think that was a mistake. I mean, like, the title of the movie is Saint Joan, so like she should probably be the main character. I mean, she wasn't the strongest of actors, and I totally get the worry there, but a good director can bring out a great performance from a mediocre actor. So like, if they didn't have confidence in her, really they didn't have confidence in the director. Her performance though was interesting just because I watched this one right after I watched The Trial of Saint Jane, and going from like such a somber experience to like this where Joan is so spunky was definitely total whiplash. Like, it wasn't the 2 movies' fault, that's just how I ended up watching them, but it was strange to go between the 2. I don't think this is a bad performance by any means, and I don't think that was a bad choice either. I think that's an interesting interpretation of Joan, because she is this folk hero type person, so like there is a lot of different ways to interpret her, and especially because she has like such mythical qualities to her. So like, how do you interpret all of those aspects of her is definitely open to interpretation. So I don't think that was wrong. I did really love how Jean looked in this. The short hair, I'm a fan. It did kind of feel like a play at times in like a slow way that I wasn't a huge fan of. There were definitely good speeches and really good moments. I can't like name a specific one off the top of my head, but I enjoyed myself while watching this. It didn't blow me away by any means, but it was not a bad time either. Would I recommend this one? If you want a less serious Joan of Arc experience, yeah, this is definitely solid. It's not the most crazy adaptation, but like, it's definitely not a bad time. So like, if you don't want something so somber, then yeah, sure, I would recommend it. There's definitely worse ones out there, so yeah. And lastly is Joan of Arc. This is a 1948 film starring Ingrid Bergman, an actor I crazy love, and apparently this was her big passion project. But man, I liked it. But the story was good. I thought it was very interesting. This was the first one I watched, so this is how I was introduced to her story. I definitely do not think that this is Ingrid's strongest performance, which really surprised me considering this was a passion project. Like, it's not bad, but like, I did not understand the choices she made as an actor. The supporting cast was definitely solid. I think something that definitely hurt the film was its length. I think they totally could have cut it down a bit and that would have made it a lot stronger. Apparently the original story was actually different because this was based on a play where part of the story was Joan of Arc and then the other part of the story was meta, where it was the performers of the play dealing with the play itself. That would have been really interesting. It's fine to just tell a straight Joan of Arc story, but I feel like the stuff they added to this version of the story didn't really help the story. They should have just went with the original play stuff. It definitely felt like they skipped over stuff, like in particular how her legend spread so quickly while she was alive. I think that's a really interesting aspect of her story that it's a shame they skipped over. Or like, why didn't we see why people believe in her? Why people chose to follow her? Like, yeah, she did some kind of miracle-esque things, but like, I don't know if that's enough to really get a mass following. So the miracles we did get were cool, but more of that would have been nice. So yeah, it was okay. I still like this movie, but I don't know if I would really recommend it. Again, I love Ingrid Bergman as an actor. She's easily, without a doubt, one of my all-time favorite ones. So like, it pains me to not recommend this, but man, no. I'm sorry, Ingrid. Alrighty, now for today's rankings. First up, we got The Trial of Joan of Arc, sitting at number 41 in the really like section. And then after that is St. Joan, sitting at number 144 in the liked section. And then bringing up the rear, not too terribly far behind, is Joan of Arc, 1948, sitting at number 151 in the liked section. And this is a total of 234 old movies so far this year.